don't fuck with the lords of hell.
Don't fuck with the babysitter.
Hello, welcome to Bench Movie Club. I'm Charlie.
And my name's Ben.
And each podcast we're discussing a different film that means a lot to us. In this podcast we're going to be talking about Adventures in Babysitting. From 1987, starring Elisabeth Shue. And this was your choice, Ben.
Yeah.
So why did you pick this film?
Well, I just remember it's got a nice sort of feel good feel about it. This film. It sort of reminds me like a John Hughes film.
Yeah.
It is like a John Hughes film. It's that kind of feel to it. It's a very easy to watch, nice pace, and a lot of action, and it's just a nice feel good film.
Okay, that's it then. So next week. I really like Adventures in Babysitting. I've got the poster in my room. I really like the artwork on the poster of her climbing up the side of the building. Which obviously doing research you found out about, was it Night on the Town was the alternative name? Yeah,
apparently that was the UK name, but the thing is, over here we've always known it as Adventures in Babysitting. So I don't know what, I always thought it was the American release was called A Night on the Town, but seeing interviews about it, it was the UK release was called A Night on the Town, which I've never known it as Night on the Town. We've always known it as Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, I looked into that. I found out what had happened. Apparently when it came over, obviously the film came out in 87, so the VHS would have come out like a couple of years later, so maybe 89. At the time in the UK there wasn't really Blockbuster Video. There wasn't these big video stores. There was seedy little video stores, and you'd have loads of adult films.
No, there was other video stores other than that.
Ben, I'm not saying it's an adult video store. I'm saying there's normal video stores, but they would always have a big selection of adult films. Sometimes it'd be behind the counter, or it'd be like on top shelf or something like that. So a dad would come in or something, or a man.
What dad? What dad?
What a man. A man would come in saying, right, I want this Busty Dolores. Let me get it. I'll rent out Busty Dolores or something like that. I've looked into this. This is why it was called that.
Go on.
And Adventures in Baby, when they opened up like a Blockbuster Video and all these other like mainstream video stores, they didn't want to get confused, and that someone decided that Adventures in Babysitting sounded like a porno name. You think about it, it is a bit Adventures in Babysitting. How many pornos have like?
Well, not really.
And the baby. Well, they are. You know, we obviously look at different films, but the ones, Babysitters is synonymous with
looking after kids.
Yeah, predominantly, but not to dirty old men. They think, oh yeah, the babysitter. So Adventures in Babysitting, they didn't want to get confused that people would ignore the film thinking, oh, it's one of those seedy adult films. So they changed it to A Night in the Town. Then afterwards they realised it was a stupid thing to change it anyway, so then they changed it back to Adventures in Babysitting. It was only for a short period of time they called it A Night in the Town, but loads of people who watched it called A Night in the Town remember it as that.
Right. See, I never would have put the name Adventures in Babysitting as a porno film.
No, but you when you came across it, you was a child.
Right.
But you got to think, some dirty old, like 40-year-old man going into the store back then, like before you had the internet, before you knew what films were, and you thought, right, I'll get something for the kids to watch. There's Care Bears the movie. I'll get something for myself and the missus. Or Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, but surely by looking at the cover, you'd know that doesn't look like a porno film.
Yeah, but they didn't always have covers, did they?
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they were just names.
Okay, well obviously you've researched that, so I've got to take your word for it.
Oh, yeah. I don't. Decide on your own. Right, so back to Adventures in Babysitting, directed by Chris Columbus. This was his first film he directed. You know what else he directed?
Goonies?
No. He didn't direct Goonies.
I thought he wrote the screenplay for Goonies.
Yeah. Shall I ask it again?
Alright, go on then.
You don't say so confident.
Alright. What was the other one?
I can tell you can't think of it.
No, go on, tell me.
Gremlins,
that's it.
And also Young Sherlock Holmes. Do you remember that?
No. Is that the thing with the cream cakes come alive?
Yeah. Oh, obviously with them films, with Spielberg as an executive producer, Spielberg was actually going to help him make this Adventures in Babysitting, but then it got picked up with him directing anyway, so Spielberg didn't have to get involved, so it would have been another Spielberg production. But then Chris Columbus went on to direct Home Alone 1 and 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, and the first 2 Harry Potter films, and I also think he directed Rent as well, but I've never seen Rent.
I don't know what Rent is.
It was a musical. It was like a on-stage musical, but then they've done a film version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Adventures in Babysitting was remade in 2016 as a TV movie.
No, I haven't seen that.
No.
I wouldn't want to see it.
I've seen the trailer. It looks terrible.
Yeah, no, it's...
You know when they the part when they go into the in the original when they go into the blues
the blues bar sort of
blues
thing.
bar, yeah, and they have to sing the blues to leave or whatever.
Yeah.
I think in the update it's 2 babysitters rivaling babysitters, and they have like a rap battle or something. And you can just imagine how awful that is anyway. I think in this film you just about get away with the blues battle. It's verging on being cheesy, some parts of it.
I think it all just carries itself well, as you say. Yeah, I never looked at that and thought, oh, that's cheesy. I just thought it goes with the rest of the film.
Well, in my head, I was remembering it as being quite cheesy, but when I watched the film again the other night, I thought, mainly because of Elisabeth Shue, she sort of pulls it off, because you can see how she's sort of stumbling into the lyrics as if it's the first time she's thought of it. So she really sells the idea that she's improvising. Babysitter Blues was written for the film, so she obviously had to sell it as if she was thinking of it for the first time. I like those kind of films which happen all in one night.
Yeah.
You know, like that, and like Adventures Babysitting, After Hours, Judgment Night, all these films where...
I ain't seen Judgment Night. What's that about?
You'll watch it, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
We'll do a podcast of it. Judgment Night is Emilio Estevez, Coogan Jr., Stephen Dolph, Dennis Leary and Jeremy Piven. And it's these 4 blokes going to a basketball game and they take the wrong route and they get stuck. I think it might be in Chicago. All these films, they seem to think Chicago is the worst place to be, which it probably is. And they witness a murder and they're getting chased through the city over one night. So they're just 4 normal blokes trying to avoid Dennis Leary.
It's Chicago. Is that like John Hughes films a lot in Chicago?
Yeah, that's why this one feels a lot like a John Hughes film, because all of his films in Chicago. This is set in Chicago, Adventures in Babysitting, although it was actually shot in Toronto.
See, I don't know any of the other actors. I don't know. I can't remember them from anything else. See, I've not seen them. I've seen her in loads of stuff, and I know her name, but none of the other actors in the film. I mean, maybe I might have seen them in bit parts, but I wouldn't know any of their names.
Right, well, Bradley Whitford was in Philadelphia, Get Out, Cabin in the Woods. He played Eric Gordon in Billy Madison, which I'm not bothered about.
No.
I've seen it, but he's basically the villain in an Adam Sandler film.
Right, and he's the one that she sort of falls for.
He's the one who
she's dating.
She's dating.
Right, yeah. Right.
One she falls for. He went on to be what's his name? George Newbern. He was in Friends as well.
In Friends? Who was he in Friends?
Do you remember the bloke she danced with at the party? He's the one who, I'm sure he's in Friends. No, the one with the Yeti, and he ends up shaving it all off. And he's got the
right, yeah. Sort of that rings a bell. Yeah, yeah. He does look like him. He does look like him.
Maia Brewton, who plays Sarah, the little girl in this, she was in Back to the Future. She played Sally Baines. When he goes back in time, Leah Thompson's little sister.
Yes.
Who's sitting at the table.
Right. But she doesn't speak in it, does she? I mean, you just see her around.
She does. She says something like, I don't know, what's that you're wearing? Or okay. Have you seen this before?
Yeah.
Or was that the
boy? Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Right, Keith Coogan, who plays Brad, the boy who fancies her, who I always felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
Because he really fancies like his babysitter, and he doesn't get her in the end. He has to watch her get hold of the other bloke. He was in Don't Tell Mum the Babysitter's Dead, which is very similar themed from like 91, but he's got longer hair in that.
Right.
Mr. Applegate.
I don't think I've seen that.
I saw it once when it first came out. It's not memorable. It's not like this. He was in, I think, it was something like Toy Soldiers or Young Soldiers or something like that. I hadn't seen it. But he also done the voice of the fox in Fox and the Hound. When he was a little baby fox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Todd.
Okay.
Young Todd. Anthony Rapp, who was... What's the friend's name?
The ginger bloke.
Yeah, what's his name? Daryl.
Is it Daryl?
Yeah, I think.
I can't.
He actually dyed his hair ginger. He's not ginger.
Oh, yeah?
He's blonde.
Really?
Real life, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they got him to dye his hair ginger because they didn't want people to just constantly think of Anthony Michael Hall. Because Anthony Michael Hall was obviously big at the time from Weird Science and Breakfast Club. So there wasn't like they was thinking, oh, they've just got an Anthony Michael Hall look-alike. He actually dyed his hair ginger.
He actually looks like he's ginger.
He was in a few, like quite a lot of other things, a Star Trek program, Beautiful Mind, Dazed and Confused. But he's most infamously famous because he was the one who outed Kevin Spacey.
That's right.
He said that Kevin Spacey was
I know
inappropriate
that.
to him when he was, and that was apparently about a year after Adventures in Babysitting had come out. So he's around about that age when apparently Kevin Spacey was inappropriate to him. The blues singer guitarist in there was one called Albert Collins, but you wouldn't know him specifically from a type of song, but he was a well-renowned blues singer and guitarist.
Okay.
Deborah Hill was a producer, known of Halloween.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she produced it. And if you watch when Sarah and Chris watch TV, you can hear the Halloween theme.
Okay.
And that was a little nod to her producing it.
I know the bloke that played Thor, he went for another film, what was it? A well-known film, and he had to put on loads of weight for it.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket, that's right. Because he looks nothing like what he looks like in this.
Yeah, he put on like 70 pounds.
Yeah.
And that came out the same year as this. So I was trying to work out whether he'd done the weight before this or after.
No, it was before. It was after this. The weight was after this film.
Right.
So he obviously he's really buff in this. He's really sort of obviously he's a gym bunny in this. You can see that he's like obviously toned. For him to go from that, because he does look overweight in Full Metal Jacket, and he's got a shaved head. You would never sort of look and say that's the same actor. But then he must have just stopped training and started eating McDonald's every day.
Yeah, well, he turned up for the set of Full Metal Jacket pretty much looking how he does in Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah.
He looked like he could bash up all the other soldiers.
Yeah.
So that's when they've said, well, we've got to put on some weight. And he ended up putting on the 70 pounds to play Private Part.
I wonder if he lost it all again after.
Well, I don't think he fully did, because if you see him in things now, I've seen him in loads of films. And he was in Daredevil playing Kingpin. Everything he seems to do since then, you can see he's carrying a lot of weight.
See, that's what I'm saying. Was it worth him doing that one film?
But Full Metal Jacket's arguably the thing he's most known for.
The woman in it, who's the babysitter's friend? She's in a. She plays the love interest of who is it?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah, in Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah, she's the teacher. She's the. Yeah.
But I've actually seen her in a few things. I think she's in something with Robin Williams.
Yeah, if you look at her on IMDb, she looks completely different as she does in Adventures in Babysitting. The songs in it are quite good. I like so obviously it opens up. Then He Kissed Me.
Yeah.
By the Crystals with her dancing around the room, which sort of sets up the theme like her all happy and like she's obviously clearly in love and waiting for this bloke, and you think, look at him, he looks like a proper knob.
Yeah.
How does he get her?
Yeah.
How old is he supposed to be?
I think he's supposed to be roughly a couple of years older than her, but he looks about like 10.
He looks like 30.
Yeah.
She's meant to be like 17.
Yeah. He looks a lot older than her.
And it also had 25 Miles by Edwin Starr.
Yeah, I like that.
Which I love that one, especially like when they're trying to... Because I think the film sort of opens with that, Then He Kissed Me, and ends with it, and immediately afterwards, Then He Kissed Me, you have 25 Miles, and immediately before it at the end, so it's almost like it bookmarks the film.
Yeah.
But I like that bit at the end where they're rushing to get home before the parents, you know, and the feeling of her getting in there quickly trying to clean up and thinking, have we got away with it? And she gets down on the sofa just in time. And the kids are obviously waiting.
Very 80s, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's something about that sort of resonates, because you think, and she goes up and goes, it's okay, we got away with it, we done it. And you think, yes, they done it. Oh, wow, they got through all that adventure and not had to pay a price for it.
Yeah.
But there was actually one song in it, which I forgot all about until I was watching it the other night, which isn't on Spotify. And I found it on YouTube, and that was it. And that was I See My Future in Your Eyes. Now when she's dancing with the guy.
Yeah.
Because they've got a live band playing in the party.
Right.
And it's a really good song. You remember it?
I don't know, it doesn't ring a bell to me.
Yeah. Future in your eyes, when all those little bits are happening.
Is it a well-known song then? Is it?
No, it's not.
Right.
But I remember listening to it, and I thought it brought back so many memories. And I thought, I really like this song. It's quite a sweet song. It's like a bloke singing to his wife, saying, I think he wrote it for his wife. And saying, I see the future.
So it's probably made just for the film then.
Possibly, but the bloke who wrote it, he was a known musician. He's got stuff on Spotify, but this song isn't on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
And I've listened to his other stuff, and I thought, I'm not bothered. But this particular song, it's frustrating that it's not on there yet. And when you look on YouTube, all the people commenting is saying, why isn't this on Spotify?
It's a nice feel-good film. It is a nice little feel-good film.
And it is very much like a John Hughes. I think of it more like, it's like a mix between like that John Hughes teen type film and something more adventure based, like a Goonies.
Yeah, I was going to say Goonies.
It's like a mix between a Goonies and a John Hughes film.
Yeah, there's lots of good films like that in the 80s. That it was like, it's just nice feel good films without sort of sex and drugs and all that. It was just nice sort of family films.
If they was making it now, you know, the execs would go, right, let's just keep it safe. Don't have the knife in the boy's foot. Don't have the guy in the bus station wielding a gun. Smiling.
And did you know as well, this is the very first Disney film that has the word fuck in it?
Yeah, first PG-13 Disney-backed film.
Because it was edited on telly to don't mess with the babysitter. Do you remember that?
Mm.
And I think when we actually sort of see it properly, it was like, oh.
Did you see it on telly first?
Yeah, don't mess with the babysitter. Like that. It's like, or something like that. It was edited. I think it was the same with Breakfast Club. When I first see the Breakfast Club, I see that on TV, and it's only when I got it on video, I didn't realise there was so much swearing in it. And it's not a lot of swearing in it, but they cut. And I thought they cut it really well because you don't notice the swearing that they've cut out.
They used to do that big time back in the 80s, especially on British telly. Like the Scarface edit and RoboCop was terrible.
How long was Scarface then? About 10 minutes?
Yeah. Like, some of the things are so stupid. They go, don't call him Boner, and things like that. And you think,
they did cut a lot of stuff out on certain channels. It was BBC and ITV, I think, as well.
Yeah, but it was still after Watershed, so it's like
stupid. Do you know how much this film, how much it cost to make, and what was the box office?
Yeah, it was $7 million to make.
Okay.
And it made 34 million at the box office, so it was profitable.
That's very good. Yeah.
It made a decent amount. I mean, studios, they always obviously hope for like a lot more, but I think it should have made more. The project started in the 60s with Jane Fonda in mind for the lead role.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as far back as then. It was abandoned in the 70s, then Chris Columbus restarted it in the 80s.
So is that old?
Obviously, by that point, Jane Fonda was too old for the role. So it went to Bridget Fonda, who withdrew from the project before auditions began.
Oh, really?
So it could have been Bridget Fonda, yeah.
So she would have been good in it as well?
Oh, yeah.
She's brilliant, Bridget Fonda. She would have been good in it.
Here's a list of the ones who auditioned. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I mentioned, auditioned for the role, but withdrew in favour of Jodie Foster. Foster also withdrew, leaving Michelle Pfeiffer, Valerie Bertinelli, Elisabeth Shue and Justine Bateman as the only choices.
Michelle Pfeiffer would have been too old for it at that point, wouldn't she?
Would she?
Yeah.
She was quite young though.
Yeah, but that was round about the time she done sort of, I mean, she always looked young. It was round about the time she done Witches of Eastwick, so she would have been, she wouldn't have been a teenager.
Well, she was still going to be the choice, but she left the project to do Witches of Eastwick.
Which I think is probably the better choice for her, because I mean that's a fantastic film as well, and she's really good in that.
Yeah, I think so. I think
that suits her more. Molly Ringwald would have been an interesting choice, because I think people would have assumed it was a John Hughes film.
Yeah,
because she was very big at that time. It was just probably round about the time of Pretty in Pink, or just after.
It was after all the John Hughes ones.
Because they was about 83, 84, 85, or 85, 86.
She'd done Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club.
So this would have basically been about a year later. So she would have had like 4 films in.
They would have thought this is this year's Molly Ringwald film.
Yeah.
But obviously,
because it's got a feel of a John Hughes film. Because even though John Hughes wrote Pretty in Pink, he didn't direct it.
No.
Because him and Molly Ringwald had sort of fallen out by that point, and he wrote it for her, but he didn't want her to play it.
Well, in this film, Chris Parker is a 17-year-old high school student, 4 years younger than Dan Lynch, who is a 21-year-old college student. When the film was released, Elisabeth Shue was actually 23 years old and 1 year older than George Newbern, who was 22. So he's actually younger than Elisabeth Shue. No, the bloke who drops her back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But she does look quite young. She's got... and I think sometimes, you get a lot of these teen films, the actors are a lot older than what they're supposed to be in the films, but I don't think it ever really it don't really notice. I know, like, even things like Grease, I know they're all in their 20s, but it doesn't take away from the film. And I think the same with a lot of films, when they're playing someone that's supposed to be a lot younger, as long as they're not noticeably older,
I've got some other actresses who were considered for the role. Kathleen Turner, she would have been too old. Yeah.
Yeah, but as I say, she would have been too old to play a teenager. She was in her 20s. She'd done Romance in the Stone already at that point.
Yeah. Andy McDowell Melanie Griffith, she
would have been too old as well. She was in Working Girl round about the same sort of time, which she was about 20 in her 20s in that.
Heather Langenkamp, she would have been the right age.
Oh, out of Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, no, I think Elisabeth Shue still. I think it's perfectly cast, and I think it actually sort of it also helped a lot with her career. I think there's Karate Kid, but I don't remember from Karate Kid because I don't think I've seen Karate Kid all the way through. No. But I know that Elisabeth Shue was in lots of films, and I think this was one of the ones that probably helped her career as well.
Right, here's the official statement, as it were. When this movie came out in 1987, this was right about the time co-star Anthony Rapp said he was starring in Brighton Beach Memoirs, and he claims Kevin Spacey attempted to molest him at a Broadway cast party. Rapp's outing of Spacey as an alleged predator led to a domino effect of dozens of other accusations from young men in the industry, eventually leading Spacey to be blackballed from Hollywood and society at large.
He was quite a big star, wasn't he, as well, Kevin Spacey at the time?
Oh, he was huge. Well, this is it. From Kevin Spacey had always been on the scene. You'd see him in films like See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and then it was round about.
What was his big films? Was
95.
Was it the Usual Suspects?
The Usual Suspects. Usual Suspects. That's when I first noticed him. It was Usual Suspects and Seven. Both came out the same year.
So he ruined his career. Yeah. Does he still work? Or?
Well, after that, he went on to do like American Beauty, where he won an Oscar.
But after the accusations?
No.
Oh,
after Usual Suspects and Seven, he's done like Outbreak, American Pie, Pay It Forward. He
was in quite a lot of films.
That basically set him up for life. You know, every year he was doing like say 1 or 2 films, and with his name attached, he was now an A-lister.
Right.
And then he got House of Cards series, which was huge.
Right.
And they hadn't finished that when all this came out, so that's when they got rid of the character from House of Cards, because obviously they didn't want to be associated.
Well, they killed him off, or they changed the actor.
I don't know. I never watched it. No, I think they probably killed off his character.
Right.
It's a shame because he was one of my favourite actors in the 90s. After seeing him in Usual Suspects and Seven and all those mid-90s ones, I thought, he's a really good actor.
Does he still act?
I doubt it. If he does, the thing is, if you hire him, you then get all the stigma with it. You get the protests, you get the people badgering you. Why are you hiring this
right,
sick bastard?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't actually know the ins and outs of what he's been accused of.
Right.
The thing that I heard, and I'm not sticking up for him, but the story that I heard sounds like if you put it as he was trying it on with a young girl, people wouldn't have said anything. People would have gone, oh, he was just a character.
But how was he trying it on? What was he doing? Was he groping him? What was he doing? Was he sort of...
Well, he might have been I don't know, but what I heard, he was like a little bit lechy, stroking his arm and stuff, but I was thinking...
Surely there's got to be more to it than that.
I don't know. Again, you'd have to read into it. I honestly think there's still a stigma in Hollywood, particularly in America, towards like gay people. So the fact that it was him getting outed at the same time, because you've got so many high-profile ones who are still...
Do you think it's because he was gay?
I think there's an aspect to it, because, as I said, you think of people like the Rolling Stones and all these other like big artists who've openly, and what's his name? Who's the director? Roman Polanski, sleeping with like a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And he's still working, and he's still having these high-profile actors like Ewan McGregor, Pierce Brosnan working with him, because it's like people make excuses. They go, oh, well, I can understand. You see young girls sometimes, they look up. You think, no. Anthony Rapp would have been, 17, 18? Right. You know, he was too young. But
that's what I'm saying. We don't know exactly what happened. I mean, it might have been a lot more than what we're saying. So if it was just sort of surely it's got to be that he done something more than just stroke his arm or something like that for it to go, for him to lose his career over. Otherwise, they would have brushed it under the carpet.
Well, they couldn't, because it was at the same time as sort of all the Me Too movement.
No, that's before the Me Too movements, that was.
Yeah, but there was loads of people out in
that's before that Harvey Weinstein sort of stuff. I know that was ages ago.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the cancel culture going on now as well, isn't it? So I suppose that's it. You do something wrong, that's it, you're out.
Right.
No matter who you are, how big you are.
So I think he would have been about 17, the Anthony Rapp. Kevin Spacey would have been mid-20s.
Yeah.
He was in his mid-20s at the time. Although I remember back when I was in college, back in '98, at the time, Kevin Spacey was in charge of the New Vic Theatre in London.
Right.
And there was a boy in my college, and I said, "Oh God, look, Kevin Spacey's like doing auditions and stuff." And he said at the time, "So you don't want to go there because he's going to grope you or something."
Right. So he's probably known
someone
for it
had
then.
heard
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't unheard of in Hollywood. I'm not making excuses for him, but obviously, like with Harvey Weinstein,
Yeah.
like what he done,
Yeah.
which was like to thousands.
I mean,
young girls.
Listen,
you know.
I mean, looking back in the day, the 1950s and 40s and all that, what they had to go through is terrible. I mean, that was casting couch. It was so, like these big fat old men, or women even, I suppose, or like really, you know, who just used and abused all these young wannabes.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at all these big film stars like the Marilyn Monroes and the James Deans and all these that you look and go, oh my God, they've got the most fantastic life, and you look and think, well, what did they do? What did they have to do to get to that stage? And what, you know, and that's why they was all messed up with drugs and stuff like that. So you'd look at them and think, oh my God, they've got everything going for them, but they was all unhappy. They all had drug problems and relationship problems and issues with their kids, and you know, it's quite a sad state of affairs, really. And it's about time that it is all sort of coming to a head, that people can't get away with that kind of stuff no more. So it's good in respects to that people can't get used and abused and then chucked away. It's still going to happen, and there is going to be people that slip under the net, but I think now people ain't scared to sort of stand up and say about it. So if there's someone in the public eye and they have done wrong, they're going to have to watch themselves now, because no matter how long ago it was, it will come out.
Back in the 20s, there was Fatty Arbuckle. You heard of him?
Oh, I heard about him. Yeah, he done some terrible thing to a girl.
Well, allegedly, he raped a woman with an ice dildo.
Yeah.
Virginia Rapp, who was like 30-year-old aspiring actress, and that would have come out more because of the fact that she died. If she hadn't died, chances are
they covered it up, and he continued working. This is what I'm saying to you. It was a terrible time back in that Hollywood at the beginning, because they could pick and choose. They used these youngsters that wanted to be famous, and they used them for their own sexual gratification, or they didn't see them as anything. And even ones they used casting couches with, and then they go, oh no, I actually don't want you. So what damage is that going to do to all these young aspiring actors and actresses?
Yeah.
It's terrible. It is really sad, and I mean, it's scary to think what went on then. It's still bad, as you say. It's shown that like things with Harvey Weinstein and also Kevin Spacey, that it still went on, not to that extent, but now I think more than ever it is so out there now that people can't get away with it, and that's it. No matter if you've done something, and even if you think, oh, that was in the past, they're going to be shitting themselves thinking it's going to come out, because everyone is speaking out now, and it's about time people did, because people shouldn't be able to just go around using people like that.
Yeah, abusing their power, like the two Corys as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a sad thing now, when you look back at all the old films that we used to love watching growing up, thinking, oh, I'd love to have been in like the Gremlins and Goonies and Stand By Me and all that. And you think, but they was all being passed around by all these dirty old men, a lot of them. Not all of them, I mean, but you know, the stories that we've heard, it's like they haven't had an easy ride, and they've damaged, and they're either dead or they're damaged, and you know, it's very rare that you see someone that has not been affected by it in their adulthood.
So Adventures in Babysitting, right?
Yeah, we've right gone off on one then, haven't we? Yeah. Adventures in Babysitting, yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Do you remember the first time you see it? Would it have been on telly?
See, no, I think I probably see. The thing is, we was one of the first to have cable, because I know I used to record stuff and sell it to my friends in secondary school, because we had cable. No one had cable then, and we had all these channels all of a sudden, because we'd only gone from 4 channels at the time, I think it was, or just 3. No,
it's 4 channels.
4 channels.
4
channels. But I was in secondary school, and I was in the first or second year, so I was about 11, 12. I remember I was in the lower building, and I used to record like sort of Fright Night and like Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'd sell it to my friend for like £2 or something like that. And so I knew that because no one had cable. Like we was one of the first that we used to do the videos of Simpsons.
Yeah,
and lend them to people.
Lend them to all the people in the
like we was like, I don't know, like everyone was like, oh, you've got cable, and it was amazing because all of a sudden we've gone from having 4 channels to having bloody 30, 40. What was it?
It was 30.
Was it 30 channels?
30 channels it was then, but it was. I remember specifically going to the ones because I was a child at the time. I'd go to like Channel 7 was the children's channel.
Yeah. TCC.
Channel 2 I think had the Cartoon Network on it. 16 was the movie channel. 21 was Sky Movies.
How do you remember that?
I just remember. I think it was 21 or 22 was Sky Movies. Because this is before you had to do like subscriptions to Sky Movies. We was paying for the cable anyway. And I think the box was on number 30. MTV was 21.
I remember there was about 2 or 3 music channels. I remember because I used to record all like music videos all the time. I was into music videos at the time. Also, I used to you'd look through the TV guide, the cable guide. Wasn't it a special cable guide we got each month?
Yes, we got the cable guide.
And you see the films. I go, right, I'm going to record that. I'm going to record that. I'm going to record that.
And you had the terrestrial channels. BBC One was Channel 5. BBC Two was Channel 10. ITV was 15. Channel 4 was 20.
Right, yeah, it rings a bell.
So it split them up by 5 channels.
That rings a bell. But it was brilliant, cable. I loved cable when that first came out because
no one had Sky in our area. No one had cable. We was able to have cable, as they called it. And
we was lucky because we lived in an area. We was one of the first to be able to get cable. But I don't think a lot of people in our close had cable.
No, because I remember, like you said, with the Simpsons videos, we'd record like a 3-hour tape worth of Simpsons videos.
Yeah.
And people would come around and say, oh, can we learn the Simpsons? And you'd give it to them for a few days and they'd come back and say, oh, you got another one.
Yeah.
Because we used to tape all the Simpsons. And I had this idea in my head when I was a kid. I thought, if I make it rich, I'm going to have each episode of the Simpsons on its own VHS lined up like a library.
Bloody hell.
Well, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. Obviously now, with digital and everything, you ain't got to worry about it.
It's amazing now how things have gone. Like, basically, you can download anything you want on your phone.
But that's how you found Adventures in Babysitting.
I think it was from that. But I remember I used to watch it when I was babysitting with Joanne. Like, we liked it. Me and Joanne used to watch it. Like, so that was...
Well, you were both babysitters,
We were both babysitters. We'd watch it to sort of get any ideas.
Yeah.
You know, so... I've always loved it.
It is a great feel-good film.
Yeah.
I do think it sort of gets lost amongst, especially the John Hughes things.
Yeah.
I think
like Goonies and Gremlins and Stand By Me and all that. It should be with that little collection of films.
Yeah. It's where the competition is so high, and unless... But you know, it probably didn't help in this country was the name changing would have been a bit distracting, because with... Some people might have seen it as A Night in the Town, said to someone, you seen Night in the Town? And everyone's like, no.
You know what, maybe we've always known it as Adventures in Babysitting because maybe something to do with the cable, maybe because it was cable. That's why it was named Adventures in Babysitting on cable, so maybe that's the reason why we've never known it as Night on the Town.
No. So probably in the description for this you should have Adventures in Babysitting / Night.
And they changed the front cover, which I didn't like.
Yeah, it had the
boy. They took the front cover as them. It's very much the artist, I think, who done the front cover. Done the cover for Goonies, Gremlins, and that kind of stuff. I don't know if he's done Gremlins, but I know he done a few front covers. But they changed it from it's her walking up a building. There's her with the girl wrapped around her neck, and then there's the 2 boys on the rope below. But in the Night on the Town version, they've erased the little girl, and they've got the man walking up, the new love interest going up the rope, and she's holding on to him, which he don't look the same.
I don't know why they would have done that. Maybe they was thinking along the lines of a little child on the poster sort of puts people off because they think, oh, it's a kids film, and maybe they didn't want to make it a kids film.
I don't know why, but it didn't look as good.
No,
it wasn't as professional looking.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Bencher Movie Club, talking about Adventures in Babysitting. Please like and subscribe. We are on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and wherever else you might find us. And if you've got any suggestions or other films you'd like to have us review or find out information about, please leave in the comments when you can.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.